But today we have a list of our top 25. We kind of put them in order best we could of which movies we prefer to watch and recommend the most.
My list, I feel like, might disappoint some people if you're more of like an indie movie fan or a smaller movie fan, more dramatic. My list, I feel like I'm somewhat of a film bro, but my list doesn't reflect that. My list has really a lot of blockbusters very high.
When we were kind of looking to the movies ahead, we were like thinking that this year wasn't going to compare to 2023 or 2022 like at all.
So that inner monologue runs, but he never speaks. So it's a really interesting dynamic for a movie. The action's really bloody. The action is super unique. And it's like this dystopian, post-apocalyptic future. And he's fighting for revenge for his family. There's cool twists and turns in the story. Very interesting stuff I didn't see coming.
Welcome to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And today we're talking about the best movies of 2024.
3, 2, 1, action. I feel like that worked out pretty well because you went best movies of 2024, 3, 2, 1, action.
Yeah. The numbers back to back.
Yeah.
It just sounds good. It rolls off the tongue.
Very smooth.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to be here with you. I missed one of our more recent episodes because I was away on a trip, stupidly having a good time in Colorado when one of the biggest trailer drops of our generation was produced. And I apologize. I apologize to you, the audience, if you were wanting me to be here for the Superman trailer and I wasn't. We got a little video of my reaction. I sat in the car and recorded myself watching it. The very tail end of that episode has my excitement for the trailer in it, and I did think it was really cool. I didn't get to talk about it with Aaron and Zach and Justin, which is a big miss, but I'm glad to be back here. We got a new studio. Aaron redesigned things while I was gone, put in a lot of hard work, so I appreciate you for doing that.
We're getting comments like, it kind of looks the same.
It's identical. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. It's not, that's for sure. It's not. But yeah, welcome back to the Sunshine State.
My first recording in the revamped studio.
That's right. That's right. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of different movies. We're at the end of 2024. It literally feels like just last week we were talking about the movies we're most looking forward to in 2024, and I'm curious to see like how that stacks up versus the movies we actually went and saw and the movies we liked the most.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that to compare.
The one that like immediately sticks out in my head is the Mickey 17 trailer that we reacted to. Because in the beginning of last year, we did an unexpected movie, like recommendations for 2024 kind of thing.
And maybe movies you might not know about.
Yeah, like you collected a bunch of movies, and whichever ones had trailers, we watched them throughout the episode with me, you, and Justin. And Mickey 17 kind of had just like a screenshot at the time of him like in the machine or whatever. And I was like, man, that movie looks so funny and good, and I'm like intrigued, you know. I'm high off Robert Pattinson from the Batman still, so give me more. And it didn't even come out this year.
Then it got pushed to January. Then it got pushed to April.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's coming out Easter weekend.
We'll be able to react to that trailer coming up in a few weeks when we do our 2025.
Yeah.
Excited.
We just keep going for all of it.
And then it gets pushed again to 26, and we just keep it in there.
Infinity.
Yeah. Kind of funny if they did that, actually.
The first one I thought of was Trap, and how we talked about Trap as a much anticipated movie at the beginning.
I'm excited to see where that kind of falls on your list here. So Andrew's seen a bunch of movies this year. I've seen quite a few too, especially in comparisons to the last few years. But today we have a list of our top 25. We kind of put them in order best we could of which movies we prefer to watch and recommend the most. We didn't necessarily, or at least when I was making this list, I didn't necessarily think of like in-depth ratings of each movies. I kind of was just kind of sifting them through on the computer here of which ones I'd be excited to watch again, which ones I really enjoyed the theater experience or whatever it was that was associated with that movie. Because from like, I don't know, probably 7 to 20, you know, like those movies I feel can fluctuate quite a bit for me.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's no such thing as a hard top 25. I think you can have a hard favorite movie, a hard maybe even top 3 or top 5. But when it comes to top 10, whether it's for a year or all of your favorite movies of all time, it has to be a little bit fluid. I mean, depending on the day, depending on how you feel, you might be feeling more like a rom-com one day and Crazy
Yeah.
Stupid Love's your favorite movie. You might be feeling more like horror one day and you've got Halloween as your favorite movie. It totally changes for me. I mean, every time I watch V for Vendetta, I'm going, this might be my favorite movie. Then I watch Good Will Hunting and I go, oh, actually, this might be my favorite movie. So even just narrowing it down to this one year, I feel like it's in some ways even harder because I haven't had as much time to sit with these movies as my all-time top 10.
Right.
So my list is pretty fluid too. If you comment and you're like, I can't believe that you don't have a Nora higher. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I want to ask too, because my list I feel like might disappoint some people if you're more of like an indie movie fan or a smaller movie fan, more dramatic.
Film bro.
My list, I feel like I'm somewhat of a film bro, but my list doesn't reflect that. My list has really a lot of blockbusters very high, and then some of the smaller movies lower on my 25. So I
You're
feel
the reason why they keep making sequels, man.
I feel maybe a little ashamed of my list,
Yeah.
but I do. That's the truth of the movies I like the best. So how did you feel about your list? Feel like it reflects your taste properly?
I think it does for the most part. Yeah, I think like if there's a spectrum, right? You have full film, bro, and then you have like just the blockbuster slam run hits.
I bet he thinks he's right perfectly in the middle.
If you're kind of like in the middle, like I'm maybe a little bit more towards the blockbuster side.
Where do you think I am?
See, that's a tough question because I think a lot of people, like especially in our Discord and stuff, think of you as like that film bro type, but outside of that, I see how much you like all these other big blockbuster and superhero movies and just fun movies. There's a few of them on here that you had a lot of fun with that aren't like your film bro movies. So I feel like you watch a wide variety of movies that I think you kind of lean towards film bro, but you have fun.
Yeah.
You know?
I think honestly, McNeil I think is closer to the
Dude,
film bro than me.
He's like
McNeil, if you're watching
probably
this, you gotta admit.
almost full blown film bro.
Yeah.
Like if you're
you never go full film bro.
Yeah, he's over here.
He's almost touching it.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding with you, man. But if you are watching this, I hope you get a kick out of that too. Definitely make sure to join the Discord because we can get an idea of your taste too, and we can all take that influence into the show too. Because we might reference McNeil a couple times here. Because one of the things I want to talk about at the opening too is how this year of film compares with other years of film, especially considering the ones where we've been paying close attention because we've been doing the podcast a couple years now. Before we get right into that, I do want to thank you guys for clicking on this video. Just do some quick reminders. I want to make sure that you guys are subscribed, like this video, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our awesome content. Like I said, check out the Discord and follow us on all of our short form social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and all that good stuff. But Aaron, how do you think, getting right back into it, how do you think 2024 stacks up against some of the other years that you like?
I think it was a good year. I don't think it's in like the top 3, maybe even the top 5 for me. After that, I would have to like kind of really look at like what movies came out, what time. I think there was a lot of good movies that were released this year, especially when I'm thinking back to the beginning of last year or beginning of this year, I guess, when we were kind of looking to the movies ahead. We were like thinking that this year wasn't going to compare to 2023 or 2022 like at all. Like
then in the middle of the year we started to think
we're like,
this
oh my
might be a
gosh,
pretty damn good
like,
year.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good movies, not just big blockbuster movies, but a lot of other smaller movies that are coming out this year that we've enjoyed a lot. So I got some streaming movies on here that are kind of high up my list in comparison to even some of the bigger name movies that have come out this year. So I feel like it was kind of, if we're on a spectrum here, it was more towards the good side than it was the forget about years. Where does it sit for you?
For me, I think it's sitting above average. And from what my recollection is in movie history, I think 2014 is one of the best movie years. We did an episode on this. We did a draft of movie years again with our friend McNeil that he mentioned earlier. He has his own show, but he came on our show and we did a draft movie years. So check out that episode to see what years we picked, what was our favorites. I really like 2014. I really like 1999. I think those are peak years in movie history. 1994 is obviously a great one. And then 2018, 2019, some of the biggest blockbuster years with big Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. This year doesn't have, I think it doesn't have something like that. It has the box office juggernaut of Inside Out 2, but it doesn't have an Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home. I think it still has a lot of movies that I really, really enjoyed. And this is a year probably where I've watched more movies that came out in the year that they were released than any year in the history of my life.
Oh yeah,
So
you've been hustling this year.
I've watched over 50, so I've gotten like to appreciate a lot more of the smaller movies that come out in the year. Watching these releases that didn't have big theater releases because movies are going up on streaming so quickly now. So I think like you said, I think it turned out to be stronger than we expected. I think it rivals 2023. I think 2022 is a better year for me because I think 2022 had movies that will go into longevity. Movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once and The Batman that I think will be cemented in. And well, for the first two I mentioned will be I was gonna say cemented in my top 20 movies for now. Top Gun Maverick not as much, but still phenomenal, huge blockbuster hit, and then Avatar: Way of the Water too. 2022 I think was a crazy year as well.
Yeah, 2022 is huge, especially Avatar: Way of the Water. I forgot about that one.
Well, I mean, hey, 2024 kicks the ass of 2020 and 2021. That's for sure.
Yeah, maybe not equal playing field there, but yes, exactly. All right, well, let's go ahead and get on our list. I feel like we've been kind of teasing that for long enough here.
Which we will post these in the Discord as well if you want to see them written out. It's a little hard to think of it in your head when you're hearing 25 movies from two different people.
Absolutely. I feel like I want to go first.
Go ahead.
Kind of list off my list, going from 25 up, kind of see your reactions. We'll chat about it real quick. And then I would like to quickly get into your list so we can kind of talk about the movies while knowing where they sit for each other.
Should I expect to be frustrated?
Probably, because I feel like you're always frustrated with my opinions on movies. So.
If they're not exactly what mine are, then they will be frustrating.
Yes, exactly. I can tell you they're for sure not exactly as yours. I've also seen some different movies than you, I think, as well. So
yeah,
some of these I don't think will be in your list, and vice versa. All right, starting off in 25th place. I'm sure you can guess it. Probably not, actually. I don't think you.
Do you want me to guess what I thought was your least favorite movie of the year?
Yeah, the one that I got the lowest here, 25.
I don't think it's going to be Trap. I think you've probably watched like some bad streaming movies that you really didn't like.
Yeah, I don't think you've seen this movie, and it is If.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
I knew better.
Don't see it. It was not good. I was watching it with my mom. We got maybe 2/3 in, and we looked at each other. We're like, "Are you having fun?" And both of us were like, "No." It had a weird story. It didn't land.
I bet it's better than Harold and the Purple Crayon.
I didn't see that one. Let me continue. So we can kind of get through this list. 24, I have Madam Web. 23, Trap. 22, Ricky Stenicki. 21, The Investigators. 20 is Joker.
Well, isn't it The Instigators?
Oh, you're right. I looked at the first and last letter. Thank you. So 20, I have Joker. 19, I have Love Lives Bleeding. 18 is The Beekeeper. 17, you might hate me here, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. 16, Roadhouse. 15, Monkey Man. 14, Mufasa the Lion King. 13, Gladiator 2. 12, Quiet Place Day 1. 11, The Fallout. 10, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
What's The Fallout? Fall Guy?
Fallout's did I write that wrong? Yeah, I think I wrote that wrong. Fall Guy. Thank you.
With Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
Good movie.
So now getting into the top 10. 10 is The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. 9 is Carry On, which is a new Netflix movie that just dropped this past week. 8 is another Netflix movie called Rebel Ridge.
8.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
It was good. It was all right.
It was good. And then we have 7, Doom Part 2. You probably hate me right there. 6 is Inside Out 2. 5, Deadpool Wolverine. 4, The Wild Robot. 3, Twisters. 2, Challengers. 1, Alien Romulus.
Favorite movie of the year.
Favorite movie
all
of
right,
the year.
All right. It's cool. So you lost me with Dune Part 2 at 7, but
I'm sure.
When I saw how high you had The Wild Robot, you gained back some of my respect.
Yeah.
So I won't... I won't shit on you now.
Okay.
I just don't want to make any promises I can't keep.
Yeah.
For later.
All right, let's hear your list.
Deadpool Wolverine's so much higher than Dune Part 2. It's crazy.
Yeah. I had a lot more fun with it. I think Dune Part 2 definitely deserves like a rewatch. to really. I think it's one of those movies that needs to grow on me a bit.
So you've seen quite a few movies I haven't seen, because I haven't seen some of these streaming movies, and then you've got some movies on yours that I didn't include in mine that I have seen. So it's interesting the difference in the list. Um, I don't know how I feel about the end of my list, honestly. A lot of these movies that are in my top 25, I did enjoy. Um, but let's just get into it. So my 25th movie, and this is not my least favorite movie of the year, because like I said, I've seen over 50. So this movie's running middle of the pack of the movies that I've seen this year. The 25th place, I have Dee Dee, which I don't think you've seen that. Then in 24th, I have It Ends With Us, which is, again, like I said, a movie I enjoyed. That movie had some weird kind of mixed messaging. Now it's having a lot of drama, but I'm just defending him, saying that I did enjoy these movies, middle of the pack. 23, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is just kind of, this didn't quite hit the mark, but it was still fun. 22, I have Mean Girls. 21, Beetlejuice. 20, Look Back. It's a anime movie. 19, Anora. Chill. I know it's low. 18, We Live in Time. 17, Gladiator 2. 16, Quiet Place Day 1. 15, Deadpool and Wolverine, which I think was in your 3 or 4 spot. 14, Fall Guy, which you also had higher. 13, Monkey Man. I just felt like it was grittier than Fall Guy. It was more my taste. 12, Heretic, really surprising horror movie. 11, Drive Away Dolls. Movie's hilarious. Don't sleep on it. 10, Twisters. Awesome blockbuster experience in the theater. 9, Boy Kills World. Huge surprise for me. 8, My Old Ass. Another huge surprise. 7, Inside Out 2. 6, Wicked. 5, Alien Romulus. 4, people are thinking, what's left? 5, Alien Romulus. 4, Blink Twice. 3, Challengers. 2, 3 Challengers. 2, Wild Robot. And 1, Dune Part 2.
Very nice. Yeah, we have some differences in the same movies that we've seen, for sure. Towards the top, gets a little closer, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you have Romulus at 1. I think I had Romulus at 5. I like Romulus a lot in terms of visuals. I like Blink Twice a lot in terms of storytelling, and I think that Dune Part 2 marries those in such a spectacular way with amazing visuals and amazing storytelling at the same time, an incredible arc for the character. I think it's, to me, undeniably the best movie of the year. I'm definitely on the Dune Part 2 and Timothy Chalamet, Timmy Tim hype train. But there's a lot of movies in here that I do want to talk about. I think a lot of movies that didn't get watched at all, like Boy Kills World, I think was a big surprise. My Old Ass, I don't think got watched enough. They're both very surprising, very enjoyable, smaller movies that didn't make a lot of money. So I think hopefully I can give some recommendations that people can kind of add to their list if they haven't seen them.
Yeah, I feel like The Boy Kills World was up there near the top 3 for the majority of the year.
It was in my top 3 for the first half of the year, and then it slowly got edged out. More and more movies came out that I kind of slid above it. But Boy Kills World made no money. It was devastating at the box office. It was awesome Bill Skarsgård action movie where the concept is that he's injured as a kid and it leaves him mute, and he has an inner dialogue in his head with a different voice actor, which is John H. Benjamin. If you don't know, he voices Bob from Bob's Burgers and Archer in the show Archer. So he's got this great voice because he's known for voice acting. And the character played by Bill Skarsgård takes the voice from a video game he used to play as a kid. So that inner monologue runs, but he never speaks. So it's a really interesting dynamic for a movie. The action's really bloody. The action is super unique. And it's like this dystopian, post-apocalyptic future. And he's fighting for revenge for his family. There's cool twists and turns in the story. Very interesting stuff I didn't see coming. The movie is kind of edited and graded in a way that makes it a little bit dark. Like in theaters, there were some moments that were, it could have been a little bit confusing visually, but I think that I just really loved, it does a lot of full circle moments. And I love stuff like that where it really validates the beginning, hour of the movie by bringing stuff back. There's cool training montage and just awesome fight choreography. There's one of the fighters in the movie is the stunt coordinator and one of the stars of a movie called Raid Redemption. If you haven't seen Raid Redemption, it's arguably the best choreographed action movie of all time. I think it's a movie it's somewhere in Asia. I think it's out of China. I don't want to make that generalization, but I believe it is. And everyone in that cast went to a fighting boot camp for like 2 months before the movie. And so it's just the most insane, like, bottleneck story of awesome action. And that guy brings that to this movie. So I think everyone should watch that movie too. It's R-rated, so maybe not everyone, but if that's your taste.
Yeah, you were definitely talking it up a lot when you first saw it.
I don't know where it's available. I can try to find it on here to make it easier for people. But are there any movies that you feel like didn't get talked about enough before we go on to kind of like our favorites and why they're our favorites?
Yeah, let me pull my list over here so I can see it a little better.
Dang, you got bad eyes. I'll put the glasses on.
Yeah. Okay. Movies that I think weren't talked about enough. Honestly, I this is
Hulu.
definitely like very biased because it's at the top of my list. But I feel like Alien Romulus, in a way.
Didn't stay in the conversation super long. There was
Yeah.
definitely some talk about it when it first came out.
Yeah, but I think it's a movie that I would have liked more people to kind of hop on the train of. The visuals were stunning, but for me, it was the story that like really blew my expectations. Like I was expecting to see good visuals based off of the trailer, of course, but then also just how the vibe of the first Aliens, and I guess now the technically the third Aliens, which is actually the second one. Based on that, I kind of had an idea of what it would look like. But going in, the story of the Alien franchises seemed to be kind of all over in quality. We had to force ourselves through rewatching these movies before this movie came out, and I only made it through the first three. The first one was good. The second one had some good spots in it. Or that's kind of downplaying it. That one was good, and the third one was wonky, and then it kind of felt like it was just going to get worse. And from what you were saying, it kind of did.
Yeah, with ups and downs. I think Prometheus has its good parts. I really don't enjoy Covenant, and I don't enjoy Alien 4 either. That's the thing is my expectations were a little weird going into this movie because there's so many of the Aliens movies I don't really generally enjoy.
Yeah, even like the first two, like I can say objectively that they're good movies, especially for the time period. Like the things that they were doing with the cinematography and the sets and all that stuff was incredible. But the movie didn't like really resonate with me. And again, this is me watching it for the first time in 2024 rather than when it came out so many years ago.
1979, I think.
Yeah, decades and decades. Um, so it is a little different, like watching it from kind of the future's eyes in a sense. So I I didn't have much to expect from Alien Romulus, and I went out with my mind blown afterwards.
I think for me, Alien Romulus is my favorite in the whole franchise, which is I think probably weird to a lot of people because they are so, and I don't want to blame it on nostalgia, but they're so attached and wrapped up in the iconicity of Alien and Aliens, which are great movies. I like them both, and I appreciate, like you said, that they're well made. But Alien Romulus is just such a good marriage of these different elements of storytelling and visuals and also practical set making, which is my favorite part about the first movie. I know a lot of people were complaining that there's a lot of callbacks in it, which I didn't find as a negative at all. I think it's something that Star Wars and the MCU does constantly.
Yeah.
And just having characters say lines that were said in the previous movie didn't hurt at all. When he says, "Stay away from her, you bitch," I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's just like in Aliens. That's what
Yeah.
Ripley says. I wasn't like, oh, they're just copying
Yeah.
Aliens.
Did they even write a new script for
It's
this movie?
one line.
Yeah.
And then having the, I think his name is Ash in the first movie and then Rook in the new movie, having the actor Ian Holm, I want to say his name is.
I think you're right.
He
Or
having
Holmes.
having the recurrence of that actor, I don't think is cheap at all. I think it makes perfect sense to reuse synthetics. And also, once I learned that the actor had passed and they were doing it as an homage to
It's kind of cool,
the
right?
individual, that made me
Yeah.
appreciate it a lot more. I think it's, that's probably something. If I were him, that's probably something that you'd be really proud of being involved in
Yeah.
a movie that's basically in the movie Hall of Fame and the IMDb Top 100. It's
Yeah.
iconic. It's influenced culture. I think that is a big show of respect for them to add them in. So I think the homages were a net gain to the movie, whereas a lot of people saw them as a net loss, and I don't really get why.
Yeah. I think that character two is like the biggest controversy of this movie as well, with how they did the deep fake and stuff. And it didn't pull me out of the movie at all
I think yeah,
personally.
I think the
Like,
reason behind it was genuine. Also, a lot
yeah,
of times with deep fakes, the issue is in the fine details of the face, the wrinkles of the forehead, the eyebrow movements. But if it's a synthetic, you kind of have an excuse, right? I mean, he's been rotting
yeah,
on a
like
ship.
I really didn't think it was that bad. Like when we came out of the theater, like that was something that we were talking about right away, and then it kind of blew up online and everyone talking about it. I feel like one, the good parts of this movie greatly outshine that as being a negative. And two, it's easier for me to get on board with that because he's just like a stationary character. He's not moving around very much. He's pretty much just delivering dialogue.
Yeah.
If we were to have to see him like move and he's like animated at a lesser quality than everything else, then like yes, I think it would bother me.
Smart of them to have the legs
But
removed for that reason.
yeah, since he's just chilling there, I was fine with it. It didn't really bother me at all. I believe how they did it was they deep faked over top of a prosthetic face, which is not typical for a deep fake.
Usually be an actor's face.
Yeah, usually it's a person's face going through and giving that motion capture, but instead it was the animatronic face giving that performance, and then they went over that to match his facial features to the original actor. So maybe that's why it came across a little wonky at some points. But I feel like a lot of the freeze frames would look pretty decent. It's just seeing it in motion. But it didn't bother me too much. I think another movie too that I didn't hear really anyone talk about other than you was Rebel Ridge. I thought that was a really fun, grounded movie.
Did I recommend it to you, or had
Yeah,
you?
I think so. I
I
I
thought it
watched
was.
it shortly
Yeah.
after you did,
I thought it was
so
the
it
kind of
wasn't.
movie that you would like to, because it's a good action movie, but it's also one of these action movies that's really built on kind of the story elements. They make him imposing with the story instead of just
Hmm.
having him kicking ass willy nilly. It has kind of
Yeah,
more substance to it, and I thought the performance by the lead is so phenomenal. After seeing that movie, I was just screaming at the gates to make him John Stewart.
what's his name? Aaron something, right?
I can find out.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, now he's going to be in the
Oh,
Green Lantern.
by the way, Boy Kills World is available according to Google on Hulu and Disney Plus. Just
Boom. There
so
we
I
go.
don't forget that before I leave the page. It is Aaron something.
I think it's
Rebel
like a T, right? Maybe not. I'm just pulling it
Aaron,
up here.
Aaron Pierre.
Pierre. Okay, so yeah, a lot of people were like, "Oh, like his performance in that movie sold James Gunn on his in casting him for the Green Lantern." I did see a tweet from him, from James Gunn saying, "No, it was his
Aud-
cast, it was his
Audition.
auditions that sold me." I thought that was funny.
I think the performance in the movie would have sold me because it seems so perfect. He's an ex-military,
Yeah.
just like John Stewart. He's got that stoic performance where it's very heroic because he's a stoic, tough guy, but he's also delivering the performance that I don't want to use violence if I don't have to.
Mhm.
And I think that should be the approach of superheroes.
Yeah.
If they're going to be illegally committing vigilantism, it should be with restraint. And I think he showed a lot of that restraint. And he had great line deliveries in that movie. I think he said there's something when he's about to leave the like Chinese food place, and he's like, um, until the ghosts are going to do something, I'll haunt these motherfuckers myself. And I was like, yeah,
Oh,
get him.
go get him.
Yeah.
Let's flip to the other side. Most disappointing movie of the year. What do you think that was?
That's an easy win.
Yeah?
This year's Razzies for Trap.
Trap.
And
Dude, that trailer was bopping. That
Trap slapped.
whew, it was so good.
I
It
think-
got us going. We were instantly on board.
Yeah. For me, it was by far the most disappointing movie, and in part because the hype was so high on my end. The trailer was phenomenal.
Yeah, because of us.
yeah.
Like we hyped it up.
But it was also just plain bad.
Yes.
If I had no expectation for it, I wouldn't have liked it.
Yes.
But I liked it so much less because of that.
Yes.
So that's
Their trailer,
perspective
man, it
thing.
was too good for
the trailer was
good.
so good. I mean, the music was amazing. It had me. The concept, conceptually, the movie is fantastic. A serial killer at a concert venue trying to escape, and the cops know he's there but don't know who, so he has to try to slither his way out. But like, then when you watch it play out in reality, so much stuff you can question so many details in the movie, so many of the details in the movie. You can poke so many holes in the plot.
So
You're
many.
like, oh, so
the things that he was doing didn't make sense at all. This movie is also my movie for the most disappointed. Andrew and I were both hyping this movie up, and we were very excited to see it. These thriller kind of tense movies are like our bread and butter.
Right in
I
our
would
vein.
say that, and then like kind of the superhero genre is something that we're also really excited for. But yeah, like there was just a lot of things of like, why would anyone do that? Like the relationship with him and his daughter felt a little awkward and a little
Oh,
weird.
so yeah,
Like and he, like when the
unnatural.
stage was open right next to him, and he was like,
Let's jump
"Hey,
down there."
let's go down there." And the daughter's like, "No," and he's like, "Oh, come on, it'll be fun." It's like, what?
Every time he would do something insanely unreasonable, she'd be like, "Dad, you're acting a little weird today." It's like I'd be like, "Are you on drugs? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, this
Jump
is-
in the hole underneath the stage? What? I'm
Yeah.
trying to watch the show, Dad. We bought tickets to see my favorite artist. Why am I
Yeah.
going to jump underneath the stage?"
And no dad would want their kid to go do that.
Yeah,
like, if,
never.
hey, like I'm going out with my friends. See you later. You know, like my parents would be like, "Don't do anything stupid." Like,
Jumping underneath the stage.
Yeah.
But he was also like this crazy, not crazy. I take that back. He was a more strict kind of parent, obviously, because his daughter seemed like old enough to go to a concert by herself.
yeah,
And the reason he couldn't escape is because he couldn't leave her. Because he could have got away without her, but he kept coming back to her and going, "Hey, like let's sneak under the stage," or
I didn't even think of that.
that's why
honestly.
that's part of the reason he didn't leave, because he took her out to the hallway and stuff and was like checking the doors and was like, "Hey, why don't we go just like back out to the car real quick?" You remember that?
Yeah.
So like if it wasn't for he's just not comfortable leaving her there, because I think he could have gotten away otherwise. He had moments.
But do you think that was because he was a strict parent, or because like he just didn't want anything to like happen to his daughter?
I think he was a strict parent because he seemed very involved in his
I think
daughter's life.
I think he was too.
maybe
but
not maybe not
I don't think that
strict,
was
but
his
he was
reason for
a protective parent.
Yeah, I think that's why he stayed. I feel like I would have, I'm not a serial killer, so I don't know how to relate, but I would have a hard time probably leaving my daughter there too. You know, like even though there's an emergency and I got to go, but she can't know about what this emergency
It'd be really
is.
hard to
like,
leave, but I feel like in that
Do you think that would have like given it away at all though?
I think he could have left and she would have been okay. I think she would have figured it out.
Maybe if he like phrased it like, "Oh, hey, like what? I got like this work thing to go do or something." Like, how do you get it to where she's not there like panicking and draws more attention to his family?
I mean, she wouldn't notice probably until the concert was over, honestly. She was so
Yeah,
wrapped
the
up in the
cops would
concert.
still be there, right?
Yeah.
And then now this like daughter doesn't have her father, and then they look up his picture.
That's a good point too, is that she would probably go to the cops and say, "Hey, my dad's missing. He came here with me
Yeah.
and now he's gone."
And it's like, "Oh, well, okay, well, let's see if we can get a hold of him.
I mean, he would
What's
just
his name? What does he look like?"
Yeah.
And then they see the picture and like, "Oh, that guy kind of matches our description. He left his daughter here at the."
he would just have to text her. Just be like, "Oh, I left for whatever reason. You know, my buddy's in the hospital. I had to leave.
See, I feel like
I'm
that
gonna
has
call-
the same amount of holes and flaws as the rest.
I'm
of
gonna
the
I'm
movie,
gonna call
though.
you an Uber."
But yeah, the ending of the movie where he like kidnapped kind of the singer
Lady Raven.
was weird.
You don't remember Lady Raven, the icon, the legend?
She sang good. I'll give her that. But
I think she wants to be a pop star. I
Yeah.
think that's why. To me, it seems like the reasoning for the whole movie. So the
was
actress,
to promote her.
yeah, the actress is M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan, director of the movie, and I think she wants to be a musician, and he made the movie to kind of put her on the map a little bit as a musician. So, I mean, all the power to him. Great dad. I just don't think that he made a great movie.
Yeah.
I think he has made great movies.
Mm-hmm.
I like Unbreakable. I like Sixth Sense.
I haven't seen a ton of his movies, if any, actually.
He did The Happening. He's
Yeah.
done quite a few movies.
Yeah. I've heard of a lot of
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
mixed reviews about his movies, that's for sure.
Yeah, love him or hate him. But this
Um,
trap was just bad. And I think we knew some people who liked it in the Discord. I think we discussed some differences
Who
in
liked it?
opinions. I want to say McNeil liked it.
Did he?
I'll have to double check. I'm maybe smearing his name right now.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be crazy if you did.
I thought the dialogue in the movie was horrendous.
Yeah,
the
the
story
story was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like it felt
Stilted.
like disgenuine
Yeah.
in a way, you know? Like it felt like they were acting.
It felt like people were being really proper with one another.
Yeah.
So it made it feel fake. And then
like an example. Oh, yeah, like an example. Like I was on a shoot a few days ago, and it was just with some people from the location that I was doing. So they're like work there or whatever, and I was just filming them, kind of walking through the store or whatnot. And as you're like walking, you're like, all right, like act natural, do what you normally would do, kind of thing. And then on the camera, you can see them acting like they're acting normal. But yeah, exactly. They're like looking around, like, oh, wow, you know, kind of. But you can tell like that's not how it would actually be. It felt like that was going on in this movie the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and ultimately, like he's trying to act so normal, and the way he gets out of the building is so weird.
Yeah.
He kidnaps and hitches a ride with the star of the show, which felt like a writing way to just force her
Her
actress to
into
be in
the
the movie
show,
even
yeah.
more, and it becomes this conflict between her and our main character is supposed to be the villain. She becomes the hero.
Yeah.
And then their back and forth goes on for the whole third act of the movie for super long.
Before we go too far into that ending portion, because that was weird, and I do want to talk about it. Wasn't the conversations between the dad and his daughter's like best friend's mom
Super
so weird?
unnecessary.
And like, why were they talking for so long?
I think we should get the girls together to.
Yeah, and she like approached him like for the second time, like, who does that?
Yeah, and that's where the
You
movie-
already had
yeah.
a conversation, and now you're like seeking him out, and you're like not letting him leave because you want your kids to hang out right then and there.
Starts to feel unnatural and repetitive, and maybe like you're running out of ideas / running out of actors
Yeah.
to be thorns in his
It
side.
felt so like awkward in that moment, you know. But yeah, the ending was weird where they kind of all got into the limo, and he's like, "If you don't do what I say, I'll kill this guy. That's on my phone. That's back at my place or whatever." And like his daughter doesn't know, so there's this weird like tension.
Doesn't that feel weird in general? The idea of I'm gonna press a button on my phone to kill this person. I mean, that feels, I don't know. It feels like something they made up to suit the plot. You know, it doesn't feel natural. It feels like something so he would have a weapon in the plot. It felt forced in, I guess, to me.
Yeah, I didn't think anything of it in terms of like, oh, that's what stuck out to me.
But it feels like
Convenient.
yeah, it feels like a hat on a hat. It feels like advanced. Like, you know, serial killers aren't doing stuff like that, to my knowledge. They're not like using advanced software and
You're too busy watching movies instead of these serial killer documentaries.
I feel like they might be
smarter than you think.
I feel like they might be organized, but they're not Jason Bourne, you know, not killing somebody at the touch of a button on their phone. Super hacker.
I don't know. I feel like that wasn't as far fetched as some of the other like logical things going on.
There's a lot of logic leaps in this movie,
But
so you had to accept some.
it was definitely convenient to the plot.
The one guy who worked at the T-shirt stand, I feel like, was won over way too easily by this
Yeah.
robot human.
Yeah,
Hello, friend. I would like to make your acquaintance. And he's like, "Come in the back."
Yeah, yeah. Okay, don't tell anyone. I really like you. What's going on here? I'm not allowed to tell anyone. Oh,
But I wish you would tell me. Okay, I'm gonna. Okay,
All
I'll tell
right,
you.
yeah, I'll tell
It
you,
was
but-
so unbelievable, and he wasn't
Yeah.
charming. He was awkward. He felt so strange, robotic.
hold this box opener for me. And then he's like, "Don't forget this." When he handed it back to him.
Yeah, dude, it was just.
And then
It
when
made
Lady
no sense.
Raven was like, we're getting really far into this movie. We're gonna move on, I promise. Last thing here, when Lady Raven was in the bathroom and
worst
she
part
like
of the
stole his
movie.
phone and she like
Worst
goes
part.
live or whatever, that felt so weird. Like, why didn't you call the cops?
It just felt
Like
yeah.
she's wasting time calling or getting on the internet and starting a live video, hoping her fans know where she is. She's like, I saw a statue. Does anyone know where this statue is?
Her driver was outside.
Yeah.
It felt like just so unnatural. It felt not real. It didn't make sense logically. Yeah, it was a rough watch for a lot of reasons. And then he like breaks out of the house when the whole SWAT team's around and catches her another time. And then they finally catch him and they let him pick up the bike so he can escape again at the very end of the movie. It's just, you're gonna let this guy escape 20 times? Have you seen Dexter, right?
Yeah.
Dexter, that's such a better performance of somebody who's fake charming. Because he's believably charming. He's like friendly to people, bringing in donuts to work. People like him. This guy, the charm felt so manufactured.
Yeah. Also, it was weird because we were just rooting for this bad guy for no like reason.
I thought they were going to make him sympathetic. Oh, he's killing bad people who.
Like Dexter is a good example.
Yeah.
We care about Dexter because of his upbringing, because of who he's attacking, and
Or they could have endeared us to his personal relationship with his
Right.
daughter. So we at least had some kind of bond to hold. Oh, at least he seems like a good dad when he's not killing.
Yeah,
There was nothing
it
there.
was just to like tell a story about a serial killer in a way, and I'm fine with watching movies that are from the perspective of like the bad guy and the villain, but
Like
this
Morbius.
just yes, exactly. But this just felt disingenuous.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling it. Hated it.
All right, let's move on. We
Pro-
talked about that too long.
Possibly my least favorite movie of the year. So I'm glad we got to.
What's our next question here that we want to go over today for the box office or for the best movies of 2024?
One thing I wanted to point out before we move on is my Alien Romulus shirt, my Wayland Yutani Corp shirt.
Yeah.
Aaron's favorite movie of the year.
Represent.
I've just recently watched 2 movies that came out this year, Anora and Juror Number 2, which have been getting a lot of talk lately. So I do want to kind of talk about the smaller movies here for a second. I feel like Maxine was a little bit of a smaller movie. I think it's important. I want to just shout out these movies so that people can go check them out. I thought Maxine was kind of a disappointing end to Ty West's trilogy. I thought X and Pearl were a lot better, but I feel like low budget movies and horror movies had a good year this year. A lot of them got made, and a lot of interesting ones got made. The Substance was an interesting movie. A Quiet Place, I mean, it's a bigger budget one, but still horror movie. Smile 2. Smile 2, I think you would like. I know you aren't a big horror guy, so you might not like the story as much, but the actual technical aspects of the movie, I think you would like a lot because Smile 2 has really cool camera shots and a really good performance as well by the lead. But one of our other topics that I had written down in here was most surprising. And I have 4 movies for most surprising.
Okay. Yeah, let's hear it.
I have Blink Twice, which was my number 1 most surprising movie of the year. Heretic, Wicked, and Alien Romulus. So I'll go quickly over the bottom 3. Alien Romulus, just because, like I said, I wasn't as high on the previous Alien movies.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it.
Touched on that.
Yeah, I didn't expect to like it as much as I did.
Right.
I think that and Prey for the Predator franchise, the 2 newest movies from each franchise, are my favorites from each franchise.
Yeah.
And then Wicked, which just surprised me because I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. I really enjoyed the world. There's a lot of cool practical elements to the set. I don't know if you've seen the big wheel they built, but they did like a musical number in like the spinning wheel, almost like Nolan's hallway, but it's an oval. And they have people like jumping onto it, swinging and grabbing on. There's like ladders that crisscross through. So really cool set design. Amazing vocalist performance from Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. And Ariana Grande, I really liked her acting performance too. I thought she was super funny as Glenda. So that movie was a big surprise because I haven't been super big on musicals, and people in my life thought I was going to hate it, but I did really enjoy it, especially in theaters.
I think I remember doing the trailer with you, and neither of us seemed like we really wanted to go and see it. So I'm surprised it was, at 6 on your list? I know it was pretty high up there.
It was really good. It was very enjoyable, super funny. The songs were really good. Been listening to the songs since then.
That is pretty surprising.
I think it was well made. It was a well done movie.
Kind of to bounce off that movie, I have another movie that was kind of surprising for me too, and that was Mufasa the Lion King, in 2 ways. One, I liked it more than I thought I would, so that was surprising. But 2, the songs were so bad, and that was also surprising. The songs were by far the worst part of the whole movie.
I feel like the live action songs don't do the movies a lot of favors. They get good vocalists. Like Little Mermaid, I mean, Halle Bailey can sing, but it feels to me, since I've heard growing up the original song so much, it feels like I'm comparing it.
Yeah, these are all new though.
That's true. I forgot.
And I just feel like they didn't land. They didn't move the story forward, and they just weren't very catchy. And some of them were kind of cringy. And nothing takes you out of a movie more than something being cringy.
Well, dang, man, I was trying to get back into a positive place.
But the movie itself surprised me.
Talking about my most positively surprising movies. But the one I wanted to get to, Heretic, I did a solo review on that, and I ended up liking that movie a lot more than I expected. I've been getting a lot more into horror this year. Really cool religious horror concept with a lot of really interesting, in-depth philosophical questions and a great performance by Hugh Grant, and the 2 other stars of the movie as well. And then, man, Blink Twice came up to one of my favorite movies of the year, came up to my 4 spot. Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut, one of my favorite directorial debuts of all time. Channing Tatum gives a great performance.
R.I.P. to their relationship.
Oh, I was like, I did not hear this news. Audrey Arjona's in that movie also. She's so good. Um, in the lead, I'm failing to remember her name right now, but she did a really really great job as well. Carried the movie on her back. The movie just has such a good job of visual storytelling. I really really laud Zoe Kravitz for her work that she did. It was two people worked on the script, her and another individual. So her work on the script and then her work on the visual storytelling component. There are so many shots that are incredibly important, and if you pay attention to the movie, they're showing you details and elements that will come back later, things that might and also a lot of really good foreshadowing. And then when you see like what happens later on in the movie, it makes everything make sense. So it feels very satisfying in that sense, but also a very hard watch in terms of the content. There is a graphic content warning at the beginning of the movie, so it's a hard watch because of that. It's an emotional movie, but it's very. Did you ever end up watching it?
No, it's on my need to
Yeah,
watch for this
yeah,
year.
it's very well made. For our personal Oscars, I think you should watch it because I think you'll appreciate it. It just will be a hard rewatch. But other than like the rewatch factor being difficult because of the content, it's just so well made in every way. I think Channing Tatum's best performance that he's given to date. A great performances all around. Good messaging. It has messaging for people out there, and oh, it's just I'm so shocked that it's somebody's first directing experience because of like the visuals of the movie. It's not like these crazy camera movements, but it's very deliberate choice of what's in the frame and what's not, the angle that's taken, and the story is very well told. Like movies are a visual medium to me, and I think this is a great example of that.
That's exciting. Um, what about animated movies for this year?
Yeah, I've
Seen a few
seen.
of those.
Yeah,
There's two in my top six.
I've seen Kung Fu Panda 4 and Despicable Me 4 that aren't going to make my top 25, unfortunately.
Mm.
They're okay. They're formula movies, you know? They're get them
Let's
out
make some
movies.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, which they did. They made a decent amount of money. Then I have Inside Out 2 in mine, which I thought was really good. A little bit lower than that, I have Look Back, which is an anime movie about two young girls who become friends and want to draw manga together. The art style is really creative, really interesting. It's very short. It's an easy watch. It's only an hour long, and it's on streaming. I watched it on streaming, so just Google where to watch that. And then I have one of my favorite movies of the year, The Wild Robot.
Yeah.
Um,
The Wild Robot was surprising in terms of we didn't really know much about like the world or anything beforehand, but not surprising like after we've seen the trailer of how good the movie looked. Uh, so I was glad that this trailer actually was accurate to the movie, because I enjoyed it a lot too. It was very uh, emotional but heartwarming. It was a fun, creative concept. The art direction was phenomenal.
Voice
Loved,
performances,
yeah, the
so
voice
good.
performances were great. The
Lupita
story
Nyong'o.
was really fun. The Wild Robot was good. That's in my fourth spot right now for the year.
Yeah, it's. I think it's in. It might be in my fourth as well. No, it's my second spot actually. I really enjoyed it. Saw it in theaters twice. The very emotional story. I cried watching the movie. I mean, you got Mark Hamill's voice in there, Pedro Pascal, Lupita Nyong'o. I think gives the best voice performance in a movie. One of my favorites in a long time. Her development of the emotion of Roz from purely robotic and procedure driven to like this feeling of love breaking through her code. It's felt in her performance, in her voice throughout the movie. You can actually hear the tonality of her voice change and become a little bit more soulful in a sense. So I think that it's just such a phenomenal movie that everybody should see, especially if you're a family person, if you're big on family, especially if you're a mother, or especially if you're an adoptive parent, because there's so many
Mm.
allegorical metaphors for adoptive parenting and the idea of parenting as a whole. Like when Ross says, like I'm not ready for this, and she's like, nobody is. It's a very heartwarming movie. DreamWorks knocked it out of the park. I love DreamWorks as a studio, so I'm glad that we both have it high on our list. Another movie that's high on my list that you didn't get to see is My Old Ass, and that movie starring Aubrey Plaza is really good. It's another emotional movie. The concept of the movie is she, for her 18th birthday, goes out with her friends into the woods, and they do like a hallucinogenic drug, and she sees herself from the future and talks to her, and then herself from the future leaves her number in her phone, so she stays in contact with her after she comes down from the high. And Aubrey Plaza is the future version of her, And so like she's like getting advice from her future self. So it's interesting.
I
Like,
don't even think I've like heard of this movie.
it's a smaller movie,
Yeah.
but it's an interesting play on the concept of time travel. The movie I think takes place and is filmed in Canada on like a cranberry farm. So it's really beautiful Canadian visuals. I mean, gorgeous forests and rivers and lakes, and the farm itself and the cranberry like fields are really pretty as well. It's shot really beautifully with a lot of cool kind of sunset shots. Really beautiful way to shoot light. So it's just a very aesthetic movie in terms of like the nature and outdoor shooting and location shooting. Is not an iota of that movie takes place on a lot or a green screen. So it's really cool. One part of the movie will take place on a stage, and I won't spoil that for you.
That's the way it works. That's the way it goes.
But that's a really cool movie that I think isn't getting talked about enough. And great performances in it. The lead in that movie, I think, is gonna start to get some traction. She did such a good job. But it's one of those close to the heart family stories. You know, it's a small story. I already talked about Boy Kills World. I can't recommend that movie enough. Twisters was a lot of fun. I saw that twice in theaters.
That was probably a surprising movie for me. I didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did. Right now, it's pretty high on my list. Probably stay there for a little while at least. I've thought about the movie a lot since I've seen it, like recalling the experience that we had in the theater, talking about it with other friends that saw it like separately from us and family members. I feel like it had a lot of elements to the movie that I wasn't expecting to really connect with as well as I did. Like when we did the trailer reaction to this movie, I feel like both of us were like, why do we need this movie kind of thing.
Well, the first one, I didn't even like the first one that much.
Yeah, so I still haven't even seen the first one. So the Twisters was definitely a surprise for me coming into this year. A movie that I was kind of hoping was a little bit better, but still was good, was A Quiet Place Day One. I watched the first two for the first time this year. No one told me that they were as good as they were, so I felt betrayed, that no one let me in on like how awesome this franchise is. So watching the first two kind of back to back, and then shortly after going to see this one, I was hoping that it would be kind of on the same level, and I feel like it was just a little bit below both of those.
I think
but it was still a good movie.
I agree completely. I think a strength of the first two is the limited use of the monsters. They call them Death Angels, I think. The first two movies have very limited use of them, where their presence feels to have a lot of weight to them. Kind of like them using less lightsabers in Star Wars. When they pull out a lightsaber, you're cheering. And then this third installment, the prequel of Day One, has a lot of the Death Angels in it. So I feel like that maybe, for me, was an element that made me not like it a little bit as much, because I think the performers are still fantastic. I wish John Krasinski was still attached, but I think the new director did a great job.
I think that was kind of what made it connect a little bit less, is that the first two follows the same
Emily Blunt and her
family,
kids.
but now we're going back in time to these characters that we don't really know.
I think the deaf, like, daughter and then the family being connected to the deaf community that way was a really cool kind of element that was
Especially
missing.
the second one.
Yeah.
The second one, she did so good. She like stole the show for me. In the second one,
When she's running off on her own and Murphy's coming after her.
it leads to some cool like storytelling elements too, in terms of like the
How do you
sound
communicate?
design and the cinematography and stuff. Like when they go into like shots and audible cues that she would be hearing, like from her perspective.
Yeah,
and
they completely
stuff.
remove and dampen the sound at certain points in the movie, which is a cool feel. I mean, especially if you're in a theater. I wish I had seen those in
Makes you
theaters.
feel trapped.
Yeah, because when you're in a theater, M. Night Shyamalan, but when you're in a theater and they suck the sound out like that, everyone's on the edge of their seat watching a movie and it's silent. That has a very strong feeling to it.
What movie did that this year? Was that Romulus that did that this year?
Yeah, it like
had
opens,
like
opens with silence.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it was. I
Floating in space.
don't think I was ever so aware of how silent it was until that movie right there.
Everyone's just breathing.
You just hear, you'd just hear the crumbling popcorn and candy bags and drinks.
Well, that's when everyone's taking their stuff out. It's the start of the movie. So, but yeah, absolutely. I think that Day One was still a really good movie. I think Lupita had a big year. She gave an awesome performance in this and in The Wild Robot. So Joseph Quinn was great in the movie as well. Had this like kind of heartfelt, close story again between two people. That's why I have it on my list as well.
Yeah. I was hoping Love Lies Bleeding was a little better than it was. I
Yeah.
had high hopes for that movie.
I think I was kind of equating that movie and Drive Away Dolls because they both have 3-word titles and they're like smaller, lower budget movies. And Drive Away Dolls for me was the clear winner. Drive Away Dolls was a lot of fun. It's a very goofy, silly kind of movie. So if you're not into kind of like things being a little bit wacky, it's also kind of a little bit.
This movie got a little wacky at the end too.
It did. Yeah, avant-garde, honestly, like experimental filmmaking at the end.
Yeah.
With big visual metaphor.
Yeah.
But this movie, Drive Away Dolls, kind of does that too. There's like they have really cool scene transitions. They'll have the scene that will be like a placard, like, and it'll like fall down to the next scene. So I thought that was a cool creative choice, and that's really fun in that movie. And then Geraldine Viswanathan and Margaret Qualley are just hilarious as the leads. They're so funny bouncing off each other. I think a lot of people should watch Drive Away Dolls as well.
Yeah, I really respect those like type of bold creative choices, even if they don't always land.
I think it worked here for the theme, like the movie. It was on brand for the movie's theme. You know, it's
'cause
comedic.
As someone who makes content and videos and stuff, like you're always trying to think of something different, and like whether it's effects or whether you're telling a story or different techniques with how you're editing or shooting or even doing the sound design. Sometimes it doesn't land. I had a video this week not land with a client because of some effects and stuff, and then you just make the adjustments. For these movies, though, they don't really get the opportunity to make adjustments once it's already out in theaters.
Unless you're Captain America,
That's what I was gonna
or
say,
Captain
yeah.
America 4. They're going to be doing reshoots even after the movie's released. Next year
That'd
after the
be
movie's
so
released.
funny, right?
No, we're gonna put it out again.
No.
That's not the official movie. It's not canon.
Wait for the director's cut. This is what we really wanted to do.
Okay, Zack Snyder. I have another one that we didn't talk about that was most disappointing. Actually, I have two. I was pretty disappointed, as I mentioned, by Maxine. So I had already said that one, but the other two were Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I was kind of disappointed, especially following Matt Reeves's final two of that last trilogy. And then I was really disappointed by Civil War.
Is that not on my list?
Kingdom? I didn't remember hearing you say it.
Yeah, maybe I must not have logged that in, or maybe it didn't pick it up.
Did you watch Civil War?
No, I haven't seen Civil War.
In my opinion, it was a bad movie.
I feel like that's what pushed me away from it.
Bad review.
Yeah, because I don't want to go spend money on a movie I probably won't like.
It was just, it made no statement whatsoever when it was a very heavy-handed movie about civil war and strife internally in a country, which we do have a lot of strife as a country right now. They took no stance, they made no statement, and they like had this setup where the war reporters in the U.S. were way too close to the action that seemed super unrealistic. They're like touching the shoulder of like the guys on the front line that are firing assault rifles down the street. Like, I mean, I get it that historical documentation is important, but it seems like you guys are kind of in the way here. You shouldn't be touching the Navy SEALs.
I mean, there's photographers and stuff like on the front lines of battle.
That's what they were. It just seemed like they were in the way.
Okay.
They're having to like guard them and like. I just if you're trying to take the White House, if you're trying to take over, I wouldn't have them in the way. They were walking in the White House as they're taking it. Like one of the people. You don't care if I spoil the movie.
It's a filmmaker's dream to be able to do that.
It just
They
felt
weren't in the way.
Felt very unreal.
They were lifting them up in history.
They were the military personnel were yelling at them for stuff that they were doing wrong, which seems like it's just putting everyone's life in danger.
So they were upset. So see, the movie is realistic because someone above them was like, "Hey, these guys, they have to be with you.
I don't like
like history or something."
I don't like the way you're doing things, but you get results.
Yeah, and then like the people on the ground floor are like, "What is management thinking here?" Like this sounds like the most realistic movie I've ever heard of.
Trust me, it's not. Yeah, that movie also has Kaylee Spaney in it, which she's the star of your favorite movie of the year, Alien Romulus.
All right, where else do we want to go with this? I feel like we've talked about pretty much everything we want to cover.
I feel like I've talked about a lot of the movies on the list, at least a lot of the ones that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I mean, We Live in Time disappointed me a little bit. I don't think it was bad, but I just have really high expectations for it because it's Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh.
Where was Gladiator 2 for you?
17.
17.
I feel like it was a disappointing sequel.
Yeah.
It was okay movie.
Yeah, I was hoping would have landed a little bit higher. There were certain aspects that were good, but I was at the minimum hoping that the action was a little more rememberable.
That's how I felt
Like
about
I feel like
Ministry.
it was good, but it just wasn't. It didn't like stand out amongst all this other stuff.
That's how I felt about Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah.
I feel like that movie just became too forgettable when that had a great trailer.
That's probably the movie on this list that has the most room to move down on my list. Like the more I kind of think of it, because we made these lists kind of like right before we started here. Kind of off of like gut instinct, and I feel like that movie, is like definitely has the Henry Cavill skew.
Yeah,
on
it had good moments. It just
Yeah.
didn't pull it together. I mean,
I remember having a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah.
And that's why I put it so high.
the axe part was really cool.
Yeah.
With Alan Richardson, but I just feel like the movie. I feel like I'll forget that movie, and some of these other movies I won't forget. My
Right.
top 5 I won't forget. I wanted to talk about Anora. Have you heard anything about Anora?
No.
Anora is like one of the most lauded movies right now. It's in big talks to win a lot of Oscars, and I just watched it this morning.
Okay.
It's about a stripper in
Sign me up.
and she starts dating a guy, and it's really not much more complicated than that.
Is it on
A guy with a lot of money, family ties.
where'd you see it?
I can't say. No, I watched it illegally.
Get him! Get him!
But I wish I had seen it in theaters, just because I like going to theaters. But didn't have a release in my local theater, and then I went on the trip, and I didn't get to see it at my nearest AMC, so I missed it in theaters. But it was just so highly overhyped. I ended up giving it 3 stars. Has a lot of quality filmmaking elements, technical elements, cool lighting, a lot of cool shots. There are some zooms in it. I know you didn't like the zooms in Django, so you might not like those zooms either. But it also has really phenomenal performances, great acting by the leads, really cool locations and sets. There's like a house that's a very fancy mansion, and it's a really cool location. But ultimately, the story for me is just a nothing story. It's a story where very little happens. All the characters by the end of the story are relatively in the same position they were at the beginning of the story. So the main character didn't have like a dynamic arc. The main character basically stayed the same person. So that was my big disappointment in Anora. If you're wondering why it's so low on my list, that's why. Great technical elements, but didn't execute on the storytelling element, which to me is the most important part of a movie.
I feel like you have to tell the audience kind of like your full perspective here. I feel like you're leaving out a few, personal elements to this. Andrew used to be a stripper.
My stripping background.
So
they're missing some authenticity.
He holds these kind of stories really high.
The way that I grip my cheeks with the pole is it's a cross friction.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that. So in all actuality, in the movie, she does a pole dancing scene, and her like face is in camera, like she comes off the pole, and it's so impressive. Like the move she does is like gotta be. I don't know. It's gotta be top level. I've never done a pole dancing class, but it's gotta be.
It doesn't look easy.
It's gotta be in the double black diamonds level, because she's spinning around, hanging on by just her legs, doing 360 moves. So I mean, like I said, the performances are great, very well embodied. The characters feel like real people. They just feel like real people doing stuff that I'm not that interested in. So I felt like she gave such a good performance, the lead. And then the male lead did a good job too. So they'll probably get a lot of attention. That's been the talk of the town, is that this movie will get a lot of Oscar noms, that she might get Best Actress and all this, which I think personally, I think it should go to Zendaya for Challengers. Personally, we'll talk about that more when the Oscars roll closer and we do our Oscars episode. I love Zendaya in Challengers. Tashi Duncan is a memorable character whose name I will remember. I'm a Duncanator. I'm part of her fan club. Are you part of my fan club? You're not part of my fan club? But Anora, I think the people in the movie executed. I wish that Sean Baker had just written it a bit differently. I think it's still well directed. I just wish the story was a little bit different. Sean Baker also, I think, wrote and directed Florida Project, which is another movie that I think is well done generally, and great child acting performances, but just not another movie I'm not a big fan of. But yeah, I feel like I have to justify that because people are really, really high on Anora, and I wasn't.
Well, there's probably no better way to end this episode than to be talking about a stripper movie. So I feel like that wraps up pretty much everything we wanted to talk about. Is there any other
take our retractable pole out of the ceiling.
Yeah.
I can maybe put on a show for the final stage of those watching on camera.
Now, yeah, you find that on the Discord, not the Patreon. It's not
Just
even
the free
It's
Discord.
just on the Discord. you just have to be our friend. We'll show you whatever you want to see.
Juror number 2 didn't even make my list, and a lot of people are talking about that movie right now too, because it might be Clint Eastwood's last movie, but I did not enjoy that movie.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk in the Discord this past week about it. Saw the trailer pop up on, was it Hulu? I think is what it's streaming on.
Yeah,
something like that, or Max, one of those.
yeah, Max. It's Max.
Okay, yeah. That kind of wraps up our 2024 like best movies.
Yeah,
it's been a heck of a year, man.
Yeah, one other thing that I looked at before we go is the box office, how it compares to other years, and it is how far down on the list? Oh, my phone needs to refresh. It's a little ways down on the list, so we're not quite back, but we're getting there.
What you counting over there?
So it's the 20th highest grossing year of all time. So it's still currently
with or without inflation?
Without inflation, I believe.
Okay.
This is, I don't know what LY means. It says percentage plus minus LY. So unless that explains what inflation is, I don't know how to. I'm on Box Office Mojo for you guys' reference, so you can check it out on there to make your own considerations. But 2024 so far has made $8 billion, $160 million. Crazy to think that 1.6 billion of that is entirely just one movie with Inside Out 2.
Pretty much 1.7.
But it's only 2 places below 2023. So we still have, like this last month, December's usually a big month. A lot of people go see movies around the holidays, a lot of releases around Christmas. Mufasa just hit theaters. Sonic 3 just hit theaters. So
not too long ago.
Yeah, so it still could climb above 2023 and prove that we're trending up. But I think we're in a good general direction that we're sitting by 2023, because 2023 was a good rebound year. We had Oppenheimer and Barbie, the huge Barbenheimer craze. So we're not quite back up to the top years of all time, which is 2018, 2016, 2019, 2015. Those are all $11 billion grossing movies. 2018 was almost $12 billion. So we're not quite there, but I mean, we're well above like the crashing numbers that we were at.
Next year, probably. I mean, we have some big superhero movies coming out.
Oh, it's going to make
Avatar
$8 billion with just Avatar.
3 is
Fire.
supposed to come back,
Fire and Ash.
come out. Do you think that movie? I mean, this isn't really this topic for this episode, but real quick, do you think that movie's going to make as much as the first two, or do you think people are going to be like, oh, like they were fun?
I think because Avatar 2 was such a resounding success, I think the trend will continue. Where I would expect Fire and Ash to make an easy $1 billion.
Yeah,
that's my expectation. It's crazy,
but that's not doing nearly as good. That's half as bad.
Yeah,
that's not doing good at all.
So you're wondering if it'll make $2 billion.
Like, is it gonna get to 1.8, 1.9, $2 billion?
I think it's set for an easy 1.2, 1.3. We'll see where it goes from there. But people are still very invested in the world. You know, Oscar nominated last movie.
You still think that it's a kind of a steep decline, though, huh?
No, I'm not saying it's going to decline. I'm saying easy 1.2, 1.3.
Okay.
So that's like the ground level.
Yeah. And then we have all the superhero movies coming out too. So next year is going to be a big year. Keep an eye out for our a future episode coming out where we're talking about our most exciting projects going into 2025. There's a bunch of movies that are going to be coming out that we'll talk about, and if there's any trailers, we can watch some of those trailers together, and then we can go and chat in the comments and in the Discord as well. Make sure you click that link in the description if you do want to join the Discord.
Message us if it's not updated, because if you watch it too long from now, the link expires eventually. So just make sure to message us if it doesn't work for whatever reason.
Yeah, just leave a comment, and we'll make sure to tag it for you and update it. We put out new full episodes every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you hit that subscription button and notification bell so you don't miss anything. We really appreciate you watching this full episode. We're also on all of the other social media platforms, so you can check us out there if you would like. Before we move on, how much is the Discord, Andrew?
Oh, geez, I get mixed up with,
like right around
with numbers.
Christmas. Yeah, it's the new year.
I think last time I checked, it was completely free.
Yeah, totally free. Just click on the link. We just want to be friends and chat about movies. Thanks so much for watching, and
that's a wrap.